Sawubona, Riviet. Welcome to a new week, the 19th to 23rd of May 2025. Matomashi Daniel, Vestral Global Market Analyst. It's great to have you here. So, as always, let's get into the action. We'll be starting with fundamental analysis of some pairs. And some of the pairs we're going to be looking at this week include the NZD USD, the AUD USD, and the USD CHF. And for Bitcoin, we're definitely going to be talking about that too. So what should we expect in this week? Today, 19th of May 2025, seems to be a somewhat technical day with no significant or high impact news expected from the economic calendar. So it's a day for technical traders, it's paradise for technical traders. Um, but for the Aussies end, from the Aussies end, we expect the SMB chairman, or rather the Swiss, the SMB chairman Schlegel to speak at an event. And of course, you know that he has made hawkish comment in the past about the Swiss National Bank doing anything to defend the Swiss franc. So we look out for comments, hawkish or dovish comments from him. On Tuesday, tomorrow, we expect the Australia's cash rate and the monetary policy statement from the apex bank in that country. Um, the expectation right now is not so clear as to what they want to do. However, the general outlook is that there's going to be a rate cut. Okay. The current one right now is about 4.1% cash rate. It's expected that the Australian National Bank is going to cut rates, perhaps by about 25 basis points. And this falls in line very nicely with prediction with analyst predictions. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Um, For those of us who don't know, the official cash rate is like the interest rate. So view it as the major interest rate of any other country, and it's going to be quite easier for you to interpret. On Wednesday, we expect the G7 meetings, not just Wednesday, in fact, all through the week. Okay, Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, we expect the G7 meetings, but on the second day, it's usually um, known to have quite a number of speakers. G7 meetings is an annual summit where the seven major economies in the world meet to discuss global policy and perhaps how to steer the world in the right economic direction. So be on the lookout for that because comments may as well um, from these world leaders may influence the market. And the G7 meeting this year is something to behold, in that, of course, we have Donald Trump in attendance and we've had the US China trade deal. So you want to be on the lookout for that um, this week, okay? Be on the lookout for the G7 meetings because of Trump's attendance. He's known to make a scene at events like this that could impact or influence the US dollar. And expect comments from world leaders that could influence the markets, being that we've had tariff wars from the US initiated by the US back to back, and the recent global crisis, wars ongoing here and there. So that's that. On same Thursday, we got the New Zealand annual budget release. The data or the figures from that release could impact the Kiwi, the NZD USD. Be on the lookout for that. If it's much less than is expected, or less than what was initially spent, it's probably doesn't really bode well for the New Zealand economy. But if it's a little bit more or more than what analysts expect, then we could see a nice push from the Kiwi. It could actually push the Kiwi, against the US dollar. Nice bullish run on that pair. And on Thursday, too, we expect the US unemployment claims, flash manufacturing PMI from the US, and also the services PMI from the US. And finally, the existing home sales. All these are high impact data, except the existing home sales, which is medium impact. And even though it's a medium impact news, it's going to be paid, some attention is going to be paid on this because um, the effect of the interest rate cut by the Federal Reserve Bank is something that cuts across different sectors of the economy. And the home sales is something that is a factor in considering how well enough the interest rate cut has affected the mortgage market. Okay, so watch out for this. Okay, and same Thursday we expect New Zealand's retail sales data. Okay, could impact the Kiwi, NZD, USD. Be on the lookout for that. Of course, we've had the almighty US and China, the first and second largest economies in the world, um, come to a truce. They have a truce now. They've had a trade deal. Details on that you can find on the Telegram channel. But for me, the key highlight for this week, coming from last week, is that the US Congress did not approve Trump's corporate tax cut. This is not good for the US dollar. As you can see in the markets right now, we've had a major weakening of the US dollar, okay, across board at the start of the trading week, most likely followed by such Congress moves. If we recall earlier on, Trump initiated tariff wars on the premise that he would begin tax cuts so as to sort of counterbalance the effect of the tariff wars. But right now, his tariff wars are somewhat still in motion, but the US Congress has not yet approved the tax cut, which leaves a general weakness of the US dollar across board to be um, to be had. So take advantage of that while trading on that this week. But of course, uh, there's always the outlook. There's always the expectation that they could approve it. It's a major Republican House. Okay, so maybe perhaps some tweaks need to be made or adjusted so as to have the tax cut, or perhaps maybe the reduction in the amount of the percentage of tax cut that Trump is proposing. All in all, we expect some approval eventually because it's a major Republican House. So be on the lookout for that. Watch for that. For Bitcoin, as always, tariff war escalations or increased global uncertainties and any form of global crisis could affect the markets and increase the volume of transactions on crypto, where people are looking for uh, um, markets that are not so influenced by the happenings around the world. So this for fundamental analysis. Without much ado, let's get into the charts and see what the charts have got in store for us. So we're going to be starting with the NZD USD. What do we see on this guy? We see that it's reacting to a significant order block level of August 2024, February 2024, and September 2023. Okay, and it's reacting strongly to it right now, and it's indecisive as to whether it wants to break below it or perhaps continue going up. It looked as though it broke past it here significantly, but it came back down to touch upon it. Now the question now remains: is this a retest or is this a continuation of a reversal, a return down below the other block level? So we'll see how that plays out. On the daily charts, nothing peculiar to note, but the trend angle on this guy is quite sharp, indicating that the bullish momentum is still very much in the market. But we'll see something here. We see something very similar to a flag pattern. Okay, it looks as though price is moving in a somewhat flag pattern, where it's preparing for a major bullish continuation, and maybe perhaps the official cash rate from New Zealand might perhaps be the key to pushing it to higher directions. Okay, but still, because of the trend angle on the 4 hour chart, it's still very likely that it could still have experienced a drop. So do not rule that out. Perhaps it's trying to target the 50-day moving average on the daily chart right here. Touch upon the 50-day moving average, we could coincide with the support border of the flag pattern, could see price start begin its move to higher levels. So um, I pay attention to that flag. Now, for me, the key support area is 0.5870. If price breaks significantly below that, another support area is 5853. If it breaks below 70, there's a good chance it could touch upon 5853. If it goes below that, next target level could be 5828. If it goes below that, 5800 psychological level, and below that, 5761. Ladies and gentlemen, and if that happens, um, 5761 could coincide with let's see the 50 MA there. Okay, 5821 coincides with the support border of the um, of the flag pattern, which may be a descending channel on lower time frames. Okay, and the psychological level of 5800, you want to look out for that. Those are the main target areas going down. If price happens to break below those two levels, then you could perhaps consider possibilities of major lower moves. All right, for the Aussie, nothing peculiar to note, but it's still reacting to also another block level here, here. Let's try to highlight that here. Okay, here and here. Okay, one, two, three. Seems to be reacting to it. The question remains also here. Is it gonna break below it and reverse down briefly or continue going up? So it looks like it's currently experiencing a retest. We don't know what it wants to do next, but it's reacting to levels, last significant levels of February 2025, July 2024, April 2024, and August 2023. So be on the lookout for what happens here. But on the daily chart, it seems to be moving nicely along an ascending channel. Okay, it's currently around the resistance border of the ascending channel, and it's looking as though it wants to target the support border based on this fair value gap right here. So if I try to highlight the fair value gap, we could have something like this. Yeah, looks like price wants to recover this fair value gap, which will coincide with the targeting the support border of the channel. Okay, you want to be on the lookout for that. So for me, key support and resistance areas. Before that, we see some slight negative divergence on the daily chart, indicating that some brief bearish correction is imminent. All right. On the 4-hour chart, my key support areas is, or support areas are, yeah, 0.6385. If price breaks below that, it could target 0.6362 right here. Below that, 6349. Below that, 6334, and below that, 6315. Below that, 6298. Okay, which will coincide, which is the psychological level of 6300 actually. And if price breaks above my key resistance area of 6441, it could target 6460. Above that, 6476. Above that, 6492, and playing around 6500 on scalping moves. If it goes beyond that, we could see it touch upon 6522 or perhaps 6513 here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Aussie USD. Now, the next on the list, the next on the list, let's see what the Swiss holds. The Swiss, we see, has been moving nicely along um, a bearish flag pattern. Okay, it was strongly bearish right about March of 2025, formed an ascending channel corresponding to a sort of flag pattern. Looks like it wants to break the support border of the flag pattern. That's the this red line right here, to target lower levels. Okay, and we see that the end of the flag pattern started right around a significant reaction point of September and July 2024, right here, and December 2023. So you want to pay attention to that. It's reacting to that right now. So what do? You can see the levels right there. For me, my key support area is 0.8327. If price breaks significantly below that, then my next target level will be 8300. Below that, 8268. Below that, 8218. Below that, 8184. Below that, 8132. And finally, below that, 8052. And perhaps a psychological level of 0.8000. Okay. Do not rule anything out. It's Trump regime. Markets could be strongly volatile right here. All right. But on the flip side, we see it move nicely along an ascending trend line right there, the highs. So if price happens to significantly break past my trend line, let's try to give that a different color here. If it breaks past my trend line, there you go. We also see it move along a descending trend line right here. Okay. With the trend line acting as resistance, if it breaks past this trend line, the green one, then there's a good chance it could touch upon 8430. Okay. If it goes above that, so just make that thin right there. If it goes above that, it could touch upon 8473. And above that, perhaps the psychological level of 8500. Beyond that, 8541. Above that, 8600. And above that, 8653. For the Aussie, I favor short bullish positions. I am bearish for the Aussie. For the NZD USD, I favor short bullish um, positions. I'm neutral, but I favor short bullish positions on that guy because of the trend angle. But I'm open to bearish positions at the break of key support level. For the USD Swiss, I favor bearish positions more because of the presence of this flag pattern right here. And the weakness of the dollar based from Congress. So the weakness may happen quickly enough within the week. Okay, it may not spread out onto Thursday or Friday. It may happen very early enough because of the quick impact of the Congress decision. So be on the lookout for that. I favor bearish moves on the USD Swiss, okay, but I'm open to short-term bullish ones, trading within the flag pattern, okay, trading within the flag pattern right there. Okay, that's that. Now, for the almighty Bitcoin, what do we have on this guy? We talked about this guy on our last webinar on YouTube. So for me, um, I see price currently formed in resistance, right? It's formed some very nice resistance right there. And it looks like it wants to recover a somewhat fair value gap. Okay. So let's see. On the 4-hour chart, we see this. See price currently experiencing some sort of resistance right around here. So if we check the RSI, let's see that. Yeah, some resistance right around here. If we check the RSI, yeah, of course, we have some negative divergence. Okay. Negative divergence right there on the RSI, indicating that a brief bearish correction is imminent. So for swing traders, you probably want to take advantage of this and place some bearish positions with small lot sizes. So negative divergence right there, indicating that a bearish correction is imminent on Bitcoin. Okay. Now, for me, my key resistance area is 104,485,489. If price breaks above it, it could touch upon 105,061. Above that, you could see touch upon 05785, and above that 106,433. Above that 106,954. Okay. If it goes beyond that, we could see touch upon 108,000, and above that 109,576. But this guy is looking as though it wants to recover a fair value gap right around here. So I favor bearish positions on this guy because of this, unless I see a break of key resistance level. So on the flip side, if price happens to break significantly below 102506, we could see it touch upon 101649, and below that 100,695. If it goes below that, 99488, and below that 97861, below that 96278. I'm bearish on Bitcoin. Okay. Um, so that's that for the weekly outlook. I hope you learned something. I hope you got some great advice and you can trade very nicely on that. Great to see you again. I'll see you again next week. As always, I'm Atomashi Daniel, Best Charles Global Market Analyst. Have a good one. Bye bye.